It's Friday, September 27th, 8 o'clock, and hello world from Germany. Hi everybody. This is my first live stream from UroChannel, so I'm very excited to start this. And once a week, I'm going to live stream from my office. I've been looking around for a good and suitable place to stream from, and this is what I came up with. So this is within my office. And I've been spending many days during my holidays this summer to gather all the information necessary for live streaming, the technical aspects, because everything is very technical and I'm still not mastering it to a point where I say, well, this is how I can imagine what UroChannel live streams can be. So you may ask, what do I have in mind? What is the structure of my live streams? Well, I would like to give you some insights into my daily work, things that have happened during this week, actual developments in urology. And sometimes I think you need some information, some background information about the topics that I come up with, especially when it comes to my videos. So this week I had 2 videos. I'm going to talk about them in a second. When you want to comment, you can do that, but for the moment, it is the settings of my live streams are so that only my members can comment. So we have a membership on UroChannel, which is the above average membership. And all the members whom I wrote today, and I don't know how many are there, 17 viewers. Hello. I'm very glad that somebody made it because I wasn't sure if anybody would show up to my live stream. So only members can comment. This is one of the perks of memberships. If you comment, please don't ask me personal medical data, because I'm not allowed to answer to any medical questions. This is just the laws and the rules. I am not allowed to give any medical advice on the internet anonymous. So if you want to schedule an appointment, you can go to my website, or if you want to, can write to me and I can link you my calendar so that you can book an appointment with me. So what else? I'm going to talk about questions and answers. So things that come up on a regular basis. And the question that I have to you, maybe you want to write me a comment on that or a chat message. Do you think I need a band? I was kind of thinking about it. My wife thought it was a bad idea. So I thought, well, maybe, because, you know, I have this other channel, UroChannel Revolutions, and I also played some saxophone on UroChannel. The reactions were quite mixed, so I'm not very sure whether you want a band or not. So videos of the last week were, the last one was epididymitis, and I did that because I asked you a week ago, what kind of topics do you want to see on UroChannel? And one of the suggestions was that I would make a video on epididymitis. And as you might have seen the video, it's about a very common infection of this small tube that is attached to the testicles. Mostly this is something that comes up in young men because of sexual intercourse. STIs, sexually transmitted infections, are a very common cause for epididymitis. That means every young man coming into my office with epididymitis has some kind of sexually transmitted infection until the opposite is proven. In older guys, it's mostly about the bacterial infections which come from residual urine. So when we get older, the bladder ages, we don't get that much drainage from our bladders, and there's always some rest and residual in the urine, which means that bacteria love that, and they will get from the bladder into this small tube, the epididymis, and then they will cause some kind of infection. These are the most common causes of this, and I thought it was a good topic because I see quite a lot of epididymitis this week, or even today. I've had two patients, one with a newly diagnosed epididymitis last weekend. He went to a friend who is a urologist and he got some antibiotics and wanted me to check on him. And another patient who had been my patient for a couple of weeks now, it was just a control that everything goes all right. But as I could see today, epididymitis, it takes a long time until it heals. So the first patient I saw, which has had epididymitis for a couple of weeks now, the infection is gone, but the swelling is still there. So you can really see it, and if you touch it, it's very hard. And it will take a few months until this finally will resolve. And in patients who have had epididymitis, in many of them, if you palpate the scrotum, you will feel that something has happened there, even if you can't see anything anymore. And I thought it was a very interesting topic because some conditions may be confused with epididymitis. And I have a friend, an old friend, and he called me up last year, and he has a son. He was 14 at that time, and he told me, well, my son came to me yesterday and he told me my testicle hurts, which I thought was very alarming because, as I am telling you in my video, testicular torsion is one of the conditions in teenagers that you have to watch out for. So if you have anybody in your any friend, any son of some relative or your own kids, and they come to you and say, well, we have some pain in the testicles, don't take it too lightly because it may be testicular torsion. And testicular torsion is one of the emergencies in urology. And if this happens, you really, really have to rush to the hospital. It's 6 hours. It's a rule of thumb, 6 hours until you can solve this problem. So what's being done is that the scrotum is opened. It's a surgical operation. It's a surgical procedure. And then you have a look at the testicle, and if it's twisted, you retwist it, then you watch what happens. Usually when you open this up, and in most cases I would say this has been for a couple of hours, it will look a dark bluish black-like color. So you wait until the real color returns. If it doesn't return, you have no choice. You just have to take this testicle away. But if it returns, then you take a needle and just sew it to the inside of the scrotum. And they do the same with the other side so that it can't twist again. That's what you usually do. And my friend, his son, it was too late. So I told him, go to the hospital immediately, and too bad, it was too late. It has been twisted for a day and they just had to remove that. I mean, technically it's not a problem to just have one testicle. I made a video about this because you can live a totally normal life and you're totally fertile with one testicle, and you also have normal hormonal levels. But however, when you age and you turn past 40, also the testicles age. So this is possible that with male menopause, you may get hypogonadism earlier or are more prone for male hypogonadism than if you've had two testicles. So this is one of the conditions to watch out for. So I thought, well, maybe this is a good topic. The other video that I made it was a lot of fun to make because it was one of the comments of one of the viewers who told me, who asked me whether a man in space, a guy 180 kilograms or 180 pounds, not kilograms, if he could be moved by ejaculation. And I thought, well, this is a crazy question, but I was in a crazy mood that day and I asked ChatGPT. Because in astrophysics is not my area of expertise, and I thought, well, maybe ChatGPT would be able to solve that, and it did. It was to my very, very surprise that ChatGPT could do some calculations, and then I was bugging ChatGPT with gravity of the moon, gravity of the earth, and all kinds of scenarios. How long would it take to lift off from moon? How many ejaculations would it take? And it was very theoretical, but ChatGPT managed everything. It kind of got not so precise anymore when I added the gravity of Earth. So how much would it take to leave the moon, and how would Earth add up to this travel, and how long would it take? And ChatGPT came up with 1.5 hours. And I said, no, that's not possible. And so it said, well, okay, no, it's not possible. I made a mistake, sorry. Which reminds me that if you use artificial intelligence or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever device you use or service you use, pay attention that there may be mistakes. Not everything that's being told by AI is correct. So my newest prompt that I do to double check whether this could be right or not is I just doubt it. I say to ChatGPT, this is not true. You made that up. And then I will get some more information. And sometimes it says, oh yes, sorry, I made it up, or that wasn't correct. So it's a good way of double checking whether this could really be true or not. And I think, especially in these times when you can't be too sure of anything that's on the internet or that's written, you always have to double check, could this really be true? Try to find some other sources, try to make up your mind whether you want to believe it or not. So next video tomorrow, let me think, what's tomorrow? I just forgot about it. It's about, let me look it up. I was very busy yesterday and uploading it. Oh yes, it's the foreskin. Very interesting question. It's not so much about circumcision, it's about small boys who present with phimosis and what to do. And I have lots of parents who ask me, what should we do? Should we retract the foreskin? It's not moving. Should we use force to retract the foreskin? This video is about this. So if you want to watch this, I would very much appreciate it. And leave some comments and give some feedback on this video. So this next topic I want to talk about is EAU. It's EAU Urology Weeks, the European Association of Urology. I'm a member. This is the second largest urological association in the world. The largest is the AUA, the American Association of Urology. Every September, there is a week dedicated to a topic that's usually a taboo topic, which is explained to the public for information purposes, to inform about that, because you don't really hear very much about this. This year, it's incontinence. Wherever you're watching from, and at least in the Western countries, you get lots of commercials on TV about devices for incontinence. It's usually women who do these commercials because it's a big problem in younger women, but when men get older, it also becomes a problem in men. And basically there are three kinds of incontinence. This is what we call stress incontinence. Stress incontinence has nothing to do with being stressed out or being stressed at work or whatever. It's a stress to the body. So if you cough, if you sneeze, if you laugh, you might lose urine. This is what's meant by stress incontinence. And then you have urgency incontinence, which is usually an urge to void. Urgency is defined by it's a sudden compelling desire to void, which can't easily be deferred. That's the definition of urgency. So if you are, I don't know, out in the city or sitting in the car, and suddenly like this, you get this sudden urge to void, this is what we call urgency. And sometimes you lose urine. It's not that you can hold it every time. So some people have an urgency where they use urine, where they lose urine, not use urine, where they lose urine. There is a condition, which is a clinical condition. So if you have urgency and you lose urine or you don't, we would immediately say this is an OAB, an overactive bladder, without knowing so much about it, because behind an overactive bladder, there could be anything. It could be neurological disease, it could be an infection, which would be the most common cause of urgency. there could be an overactive detrusor. The detrusor is the name for the bladder muscle. And when the detrusor contracts, you will feel this as urgency because the pressure inside the bladder will rise quite a lot, and this will tell your brain, the receptors will tell your brain that the bladder is full, and then you will have to go. Detrusor overactivity is something that happens in many people, both men and women, and it's connected to aging. We don't really know why this is happening. Sometimes it's a symptom of disease, like, for example, multiple sclerosis, but more commonly, early diabetes. So 2 or 3 times every year, I have a patient who has not been diagnosed with diabetes, and then I diagnose it because it's one of the key symptoms of diabetes, this urgency. But OAB is just urgency, and then there's OAB wet or OAB dry. And I think you can imagine what this means. OAB wet is when you lose urine, and OAB dry is when you still can hold it. These are the forms of incontinence. And then, especially in women, there is mixed incontinence. So they have both. They have stress incontinence and urgency incontinence. And how do I differentiate between the two? Sometimes it's not very easy. So you have to have some measurements to do that, which would be pressure flow studies. We also call these urodynamics. Pressure flow studies, they're kind of, yeah, you can survive, and but it's not that you want to do this every day, I guess, because you put catheters in almost every opening of the body. So you have a catheter inside your bladder. It's a very small one because you have to be able to void with it afterwards. This catheter is used for instilling water. So we just get water into the bladder at a constant pace, and I usually have warm saline. It's a saline solution that I instill into the bladder, and I use 20 milliliters per minute, which is very low. If you do it too fast, then the bladder might react, and you see all kinds of artifacts that you don't want to see. At the same time, there is a transducer in the rectum, and this is for measuring pressure. So by doing this, you can measure the pressure in the bladder, the pressure in the abdomen, and you can also calculate the detrusor pressure, which is very valuable. So you put in all these catheters, and then you fill up the bladder, and this takes forever because it's just 20 milliliters per minute. And if you can just imagine, some patients can hold like 600 milliliters. It takes a long time. So usually I would just stand there for half an hour or even longer and fill up the bladder. And then I would ask the patient questions, because you have to have certain points in time that you have to record, which is, the first is, when do we have the first sensation of that there's something filling into the bladder? Then there's a point where you would say, well, bladder is kind of filling up, not too soon, I will have to go to the bathroom. And then next point would be, I would go to the bathroom normally. Then the next step would be, now I would really go to the bathroom. And then the next step would be, I have to go now, so it's, I can't defer it any longer. And then it would stop and let the patient void into a special measurement device. So we measure how many milliliters per second voided urine there is, at the same time recording the pressure. And as you can imagine, this is a very complicated measurement. You get lots of curves, and then you have to interpret them. But during the filling phase, sometimes you see the urgency. It's very interesting. You can provoke it by coughing. So you let the patient cough, and then you will see that there's the detrusor curve is rising. And then it's firing, and they will immediately report that they have the urgency. So this is how you would differentiate between the different forms of incontinence: urgency incontinence, stress incontinence, or even mixed incontinence. And in women, I also have the opportunity or the possibility to measure the pressure of the urethra. And this is very interesting because you can imagine that the urethra plays a very, very important role in holding tight in women. As you can imagine, this is just 2 or 3 centimeters long, the urethra in women, but still the pressure of it being deflated is a very important variable for just being dry and not being incontinent. What else? Yes, in men, there is some special condition. This is not really incontinence. It's a condition which is called overflow incontinence. That means the bladder is completely full. It can't fill anymore. And sometimes they get so used to residual urine, it just built up over months and even years, that the bladder now is so full that the pressure of the urine inside the bladder is large enough to overcome the pressure of the sphincter muscle, so urine dribbles out. This is what we call overflow incontinence. And this is, of course, is one of the big taboos in society. Nobody talks about it, and I think that's the real problem, because it's very costly. It's costly in terms of work, hours of work lost to economy, and it's also very, very costly in terms of devices being bought for incontinence. So this week is dedicated to tell people that we urologists are the specialists for incontinence. So if you have incontinence problems or urgency, don't wait it out and don't buy diapers and stuff. Go to a urologist and let it sort out, because in many cases we can help and we can really make it better. And as I said, sometimes there is some disease that's behind the symptom and that we can figure out and that we can treat, like, for example, diabetes. If you have a diabetes that's not known and we treat it, then the urgency and the incontinence will go away. So this would be a very elegant way of doing it. So what else? Urology Week. This is my participation in Urology Week and informing you guys about it. I used to do a lot for Urology Week. As a matter of fact, I was the coordinator for Urology Week in Norway back in the day when I was still working in Norway. And in 2008, that was very funny. I rented a large prostate model and we put it up in the Rikshospital in Oslo, in the entrance hall. And you really could walk into the prostate. And it came in a big van from Germany, and then the TV would be there, and the morning TV, what's it called, NRK, the Norwegian state TV was there, and they were interviewing me, and I was showing them around in the prostate. So it was much fun. And then we had a patient day with talks from experts within prostate cancer and all of this. So this was then, and now I'm participating by doing a live stream about Urology Week. Speaking of Urology Week, we have this week the third largest Congress for urology in the world, in Germany, in Leipzig, which is the DGU Congress, DGU, Deutsche Gesellschaft für Urologie. That's the German Association of Urology. And this has been going on since Wednesday, and it will end tomorrow on Saturday. I don't know if you guys have been on a Congress, and I don't know if you maybe wonder how it's done and what you can see at a Congress. Let me just check the chat messages if there are any. It doesn't look like chat messages. Nope. So congresses are large. So this Congress, I think it's about 3,000 urologists being gathered there. And most of it is, nowadays it's in English, but lots of it is still in German. And you've all topics of urology. It's not just cancer, it's everything. It's also sexual medicine, although the sessions are very small. And then you meet lots of people in the breaks that we have, but it's not like it used to be. So you don't get overwhelmed with presence or anything like from big pharma. I know many of you are very critical towards big pharma, and of course pharmaceutical agencies are also there, but if you want to have a coffee, you usually nowadays have to write yourself into a list, and then you get published on the internet that you took a coffee from this and that company. So it's everything is very restricted. So it's more about meeting people, and people that you haven't seen for a long time. So it's very social also, and also in the evenings. So you meet with other urologists and you chat with them. So it's a very intense week to be there. And I really liked it when I was still going much to congresses. This year I'm not going. I'm kind of angry at the DGU for treating me so badly last year, because I was supposed to give a talk at the Congress about sexual medicine. It was about premature ejaculation. And I had to close my office for this, and I had to pay for my travels. And I was giving the talk for free, so I didn't get any honorary from the society for that. And then 2 weeks before this started, they wanted me to pay I think it was 400 or 500 euros entrance fee, and I said no. I'm giving this talk for free, and I'm not going to pay entrance fee. So I just didn't do it. So I didn't go to the Congress this year. Maybe next year, DGU, if you are listening, I would like to give a talk, but let me go in for free. Maybe they do it. I don't know. Before that, I was. This is from the DGU. It was sent to me the other day. I think this is very funny because I don't know if you can see it. It's about brain train. And I was reading this, like, what's brain train? I don't know have you ever heard of brain train? I'm a German native speaker, so I'm not quite sure if this is a term that's existing in English. And even inside, if you're looking at this, it's brain train all the way. So this article, which it refers to, is about German doctors checking out of Germany and going to other countries. The US being the third most popular country for German doctors. But the problem is you've got to take the USMLE, which is very, very difficult. And I didn't take it. I was so stupid as a student. I didn't take it. I thought I didn't know that I maybe wanted to go to the US. Nowadays, it has become so difficult. You just had to do it simultaneously with your studies. Otherwise, you have no chance to come through this. This is 600 questions in 10 hours. So you can, if you just do the calculation, this is 1 question per minute, no breaks, 10 hours straight, and you make your breaks yourself. And you have to score, I think, 80% or something. And this is just insane. Maybe when you're a student and when you're young and you do this simultaneously with your studies, you might have a chance to do this. But at my age and my studies being so far away, I wouldn't have a chance. So I wouldn't go to the US, but I could go to Switzerland, which is the #1 country for immigrants from Germany. So most German doctors go to Switzerland, as the article tells me. Number 2 is Austria, as a matter of fact, because it resembles the German healthcare system quite a lot. They do also a comparison a little bit about healthcare systems, which I think is very interesting because it also has an influence on the topics that I choose and the way I present my videos. I was thinking about it the other day that maybe because of other healthcare systems, I get comments in a certain way. So I noticed that from the US, there are always comments which are very critical, which say, well, you're bought from big pharma, or don't listen to this guy. And I also see that there's a huge interest in life hacks, natural remedies. And this, in my opinion, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but this might have to do with the fact that medicine is incredibly expensive in America. If you go to a doctor, I think it costs a lot. I spent 1 year and a half in Canada. So Canada's can't be compared, but it's North America anyway. So I know from my relatives there that it's very, very expensive, and if you don't have health insurance, it can cost you your whole existence. So I can kind of understand that you want to try to solve everything by yourselves. And you don't have to do this in Germany because pretty much everybody is insured. It's obligatory to have health insurance, and everybody has it. Even if you don't have money, you have health insurance, and the welfare will pay for it. So everybody is able to go to the doctor. So the only ones who maybe skip health insurance, although it's illegal, these are the guys who are self-employed, because nobody's checking on that, whether they signed health insurance or not. But technically speaking, they should. Some of them don't, because they don't make much money, and then they want to have this money to spend for their living. So they might not have it. But also the poor people in Germany, they have health insurance, so they are entitled to go to the doctor. And basically, it costs nothing. Once you are in the healthcare system, in the statutory healthcare system, you don't pay for your visits. The only thing that you pay for is if you go to the hospital, then you pay, I think it's 10 euros a day that you stay in hospital, and you pay something for the medication that you have. So if you get a prescription, go to the pharmacy, there's some euros that you have to pay. But basically, this is it. And if you get seriously sick, you're taken care of. So we don't have this system like they have in the US. So when I talk about certain issues or how I do things, this is with my European background. So I'm a German doctor. I studied in Germany, but I also have an education from Scandinavia. So I was in Scandinavia for over 10 years. There was a couple of years in Iceland. I spent a couple of years in Sweden. This is where I eventually got my specialty. I'm a Swedish specialist, so to speak. And I also spent a number of years in Norway before I returned to Germany. All of this, of course, has an influence on how I say things, my whole philosophy, how I do things medically. And this has an influence on what I tell you in my videos. And if you want, you can write me some comments about what you think in your countries, how healthcare system is working, and how you perceive my content in mirroring your healthcare system, because I know it's quite different in other countries. I recently had a patient from Australia, and he told me that in Australia, most urologists would operate. So we have a much more diversity here in Germany. So you can choose to do pretty much whatever you want. So I have operated. I'm not doing surgery anymore. So my specialty has become sexual medicine. And since I opened my office here 7 years ago, it has become more so into sexual medicine, because like I'm a totally normal urologist. I got a very normal and urological education. So I did all the operations. I did everything you have to do in order to get the specialty. I did lots of oncology the first years after I got a specialist. And these years were very valuable to me. I'm still very much rooted in oncology, because it's one of the cornerstones of the things that we do. But then I can't say bad conscience, but it bothered me that we would do all these big operations. And, you know, we take out prostates, we take out bladders, and surgery of bladder cancer. And if it's an advanced bladder cancer, which is not the superficial one, but the one that goes deeper into the bladder wall, it's major surgery. It takes many hours. You also do intestinal surgery, because you have to remove the bladder, and then you have to do something with the urine. So you have to kind of construct a reservoir. So we do plastic surgery there and intestinal surgery. It's lots and big stuff that we do. And then we tell our patients, well, be glad that you survived and then goodbye. And knowing that sexuality is a very big thing for mankind as a whole, I kind of thought, well, could this be it? Wouldn't it be better to have something to offer, at least something? And we started with giving PD5 inhibitors, tadalafil and sildenafil, which is Cialis and Viagra and all the likes. But you know, it's all about nerves. So if the nerves are not functioning, which is the case in almost everybody who's got an operation, at least for the first maybe a couple of months or up to 2 years, then they're not working. So we have to have something to offer. So sexuality is not about erection. I would say erection is part of it, but there's also orgasm. And this is a topic nobody talks very much about, because everybody's so focused on erection. But we know that orgasm is changed after these surgical procedures in quite a lot of men. And only a minority, I think it's about 30%, they retain their original feeling of orgasm. So very often I have patients who tell me that when they engage in sexual activity, they, well, that was it. And then they say, well, was that orgasm? Yeah, maybe. So this is how they perceive it. So it can be altered quite a lot. And I thought this would be very important to have something to offer, because then also sexuality happens in a social context. So there's usually another person that's involved. So most of the time it would be a wife. It could also be a male partner. And then the partners themselves, they themselves also have diseases. Because cancer usually is a disease of the older patient, not so much of the younger patient. So also the partners would have diseases maybe that would have an influence on sexuality. This is why I think this is important that somebody is doing that stuff. And not many do this, many doctors, because they are not educated, they're not interested. It's not part of our curriculum. So it's surgery, and it's very much surgery oriented, and this more psychological stuff is not part of this. So you have to have a special interest, and then you have to have a special education, which I did. I went to the Charité, which is one of the most famous hospitals, university hospitals in Germany. And I was doing this on the weekends. So for a couple of years, I would go to Charité, and then we would have courses, and then I would have my cases. And there were lots of hours that I had to work for this at home in my home clinic. I would have to see patients, I would have to document it, and I would have to hand this in and get graded on this, and then I would have supervisions and all this stuff that you have to do for sexology. I once had a comment not so long ago asking what is a sexologist anyway. So sexologist is, we divide it up. So sexual medicine, I would say, is more about doing things on erectile dysfunction, like prescribing pills, doing shock waves, doing PRP, whatever, and dealing with all these things on another level, while sexology is more like the psychological part of things. So it's a psychotherapeutic intervention, so to speak. So this is what I would say is sexology, to also get people to think, to ask questions, to bring about a change. So we can't bring about a change, but we can ask questions. So the only one who is able to change is the patient himself. But asking questions might trigger processes that will lead to a change, and that will enable them to deal with things. Because, you know, often when we do these operations, it's not possible to go back to square one. So they will have to deal with a loss of function. And the only thing that we can try to do is to restore as much as we can, and we can care. I think this is very important, that there is somebody who says, okay, I care, and I try to help you. And even if we can't bring it about, but maybe we can do it in a way that you think life is better than if we hadn't we didn't do it. So this is what I do in sexual medicine and in sexology. So DJU brain train, I think it's brain drain, but maybe there's so much brain drain that what's left is brain train. I don't know. Or maybe it's something that's to do with the German railway. If you have been to Germany, it used to be very on time. Now you never know when you catch a train because they are so unreliable nowadays. So, I go to Hanover tomorrow and I'm not going by train because I will take the car. I can't be too sure if I will arrive in time because tomorrow I go to another course. It's something totally different. It's about traffic medicine. Because, you know, for having a driver's license, or when your driver's license is withdrawn, which can happen, like if you're caught driving with alcohol, or if you did some rude things in traffic that the police said, okay, we get your driver's license and your car and you want it back. Sometimes you have to go to some doctor and to apply for it, at least here in Germany. And then also it's about who's being able to drive. Like it's about vision, about hearing, all the things that you have to be capable of if you want to have a driver's license. So this traffic medicine is something that I was interested in, and it's just 2 weekends. And I thought, well, just do it. And tomorrow is the last day, and then I'm done with it. So you see, I'm pretty much interested in everything. Maybe not so much in dancing. I don't really like dancing. I've never done it. But for the rest, which brings me to the band. Do you want to have a band? Let's see, somebody commented on this. Nope. Nobody wanted to have a band. Okay, then for the live streaming, my intention is to do a live stream every Friday at 8, same time, same place. Maybe not same place. I know on November 1st, it's not going to be here. I'm going to be in Denmark. But maybe I'm doing a live stream from Denmark. I hear some objections. Just wait. Somebody was saying something. Was? Was sagt er? Ich verstehe das nicht. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. No band. That was the comment. So there's one no for a band. Maybe if you say if we get 2 yes for a band, I will try to get one. Say something. No. Excellent. Excellent. No, it's just my transmission is excellent. So if you want a band, so tell me. So back to Denmark. Maiken, if you're hearing this, if you're watching this, can we have a live stream from your party? I will ask all your guests about crazy stuff from urology. It's going to be very much fun. I promise. So write me an email if you hear this. Okay, so it's going to be on Fridays. Let's see what's coming out of this. And I would really much appreciate if you would tune in next Friday. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and maybe you can write me some comments if you've heard this and if you've watched this. I'd be very glad. So have a nice weekend. Have a nice evening. In some parts of the world, it's in the morning. See you. Bye-bye.